mayong may buntag pa. Kapit na may paniod to. So I hope I would still have my 20 minutes, or I could make this 10 minutes. I'm going to read my paper na lang, no? Okay. If I'm going to explain further, I might be not finishing this by 12 o'clock. Well, we talk about sari-sari stores, sometimes opening ingon nga sira-sira stores. Pero wapo po jagalan o higher level convenience store. But we're going to focus more on sari-sari stores. So while we are promoting circular economies, I have my slides. I have my hair. Okay, here. Yeah. Okay. So while we are promoting circular economies, no, it's also interesting to find out the behaviors of store owners and consumers towards selling and buying. This would be in relation to how we manage plastic waste. Well, several studies. Here. Next slide, please. Well, several studies would show psychological, socioeconomic, and natural factors to influence human behavior. And one of these factors is a person's attitude towards particular objects, events, people, environments, and so on. And this could be positive or negative, which is also the composite result of interlocking external factors. And how a person perceives waste materials, particularly plastics, and the subsequent health hazards produced is a result of his or her accumulated knowledge and understanding of the phenomenon. And whatever one's assessment of the threats may shape one's attitude towards certain practices and measures on the use and disposal of plastic waste, particularly derived from the market, the circular market. Next slide. One of the distributors of plastic waste at the near tail end of the supply chain is the Sari-Sari or retail stores, but in smaller quantities and usually packed in plastic containers of various types and forms. Although in the past, Sari-Sari stores were already the most conveniently located establishments in the neighborhood where to buy immediate household needs, this has not seriously contributed to the indiscriminate use and disposal of plastic waste materials because of the traditional practice of selling smaller items using their own containers or being wrapped up in outdated newspapers. And I grew up with this kind of practice. Now, in this presentation, the attitudes of Sari store owners and customers towards plastic waste practices and measures were examined to identify the demographic and sociocultural factors related to their attitudes. The aim was to recommend strategies to enrich or alter the attitudes of Sari-Sari store owners and customers toward or away from certain waste practices by promoting corresponding waste measures. And by the way, the data that I'm using here are found in the technical report of a project entitled Transdisciplinary Network for Designing Zero Waste Local Neighborhood Store Models in the Philippines, which is a collaborative project between Silliman University and SUAS University of London, with Dr. Jorge Emmanuel and Dr. Risa Morimoto as group project leader. I was actually invited in this project, being an apologist and assigned to analyze the attitudes of store owners and consumers. The project was funded by a Global Challenges Research Fund networking grant, and provided by the Academy of Medical Sciences and implemented in cooperation with the non-government organization Mother Earth Foundation. Now, the survey covered 54 sari-sari store owners and 195 customers in Quezon City and Dumaguete City. That's why the title is Two Philippine Cities. And the samples were comprised of individuals from low income and middle income households in Quezon City, and those in Dumaguete were from the core and peripheral barangays. Now, the interview was done face to face, and I think that was post-pandemic, using semi-structured questionnaire while complying strictly the health protocols because of the COVID-19. So I'm going to present here the results divided into two attitudes of store owners and consumers. First, let's look into their attitudes towards waste measures. The Quezon City store owners favored dispensers and other measuring tools when selling small items. They also supported offering customers disposable plastic straws, selling natural products with no synthetic chemicals, and pushing the city's plastic bag regulation. More specifically, the middle-income barangays of Quezon City and core barangays of Dumaguete City favored selling reusable bags instead of single-use plastic bags. Meanwhile, the store owners who received training in operating a sari-sari store favored the traditional practice of having customers bring their containers to buy small items. The trained store owners also favored the concept of zero waste. The difference is also true in using dispensers, weighing scales, measuring cups, and refillable containers in selling goods, especially in small amounts. So take note, small amounts. Notably, the respondents' attitudes towards particular waste measures are mutually reinforcing. For instance, the store owners who agreed with the traditional practice of requiring customers to bring their containers when buying some small items considered the protection of the environment as a personal concern. They also agreed with the ban on single-use plastic bags, the alternative to sachet packaging in a general sense, and the selling of goods using dispensers. These findings suggest that the acceptability of a particular cluster of measures positively influences attitudes towards certain environmentally responsible sari-sari store practices. Now, with regard to the customers, their age, household size, and house distance positively influence their preference for sari-sari stores. So many of you here are customers, and imagine yourself at this particular instance. No? Many older customers became regular buyers of particular sari-sari stores to support them in business, particularly when they found the owners to be friendly. Meanwhile, customers with large households tend to buy and prefer to buy from sari-sari stores, most likely for smaller items because these are faster to transact with. Customers with houses farther away from the sari-sari stores were less concerned about convenience as a way of life during modern times. They were less busy and did not find buying from these sari-sari stores as convenient. Hence, they did not establish a socket relationship with them. Consequently, the distances of their houses are negatively related to their attitudes towards the zero waste measures adopted by the sari-sari stores. Therefore, distance is a hindering factor in requiring them to bring back or to bring containers to the sari-sari store and to use refillable containers. In contrast, customers residing closer to sari-sari stores showed positive buying attitudes or behaviors that reduced waste and inhibited the use of plastic containers. Now let's go to attitudes towards zero waste practices. For store owners, Residency, age, sex, and having minor children are significantly associated with the attitude towards proposed zero waste practices related to using reusable and biodegradable consumer products. The number of years the store owners resided in the community is negatively associated with assuming environmental protection as a personal concern. However, contrary to the foregoing observation, the older the store owner's age, the more they favored selling washable napkins and natural products. The data implied that long-time resident sari-sari store owners, but not necessarily older in terms of age, tend to be indifferent about taking personal responsibility for protecting the environment. Meanwhile, the female store owners significantly favored selling reusable products as alternatives to single-use products like washable napkins and washable napkins. Moreover, the number of children below 18 years old the store owners have is negatively associated with offering reusable spoons and plates. They also included younger store owners with minor children, unlike the demographically older store owners who knew past traditional practices in selling consumer items without plastic packaging. Similarly, the store owners who favored certain zero waste practices supported other related practices. For example, supportive store owners who sell washable cloth and panty napkins also endorse giving reusable straws to customers. They also favored giving reusable cups, spoons, forks, and plates. Interestingly, the store owners who refuse to give disposable plastic straws to customers agreed with the observance of the city's plastic bag regulation and subsequently the selling of reusable bags, really in business. No? They favored selling natural products because they are biodegradable and less harmful to the ecosystem. How about the customers? The sex, civil status, education of the customers, and location of the study sites are significantly associated with attitudes towards zero waste management in Sari-Sari stores. Location here refers to Dumaguete core and peripheral barangays and Quezon City low and middle income communities. More female Sari-Sari store customers favored using refillable and reusable containers and bringing their reusable containers. Regardless of sex, customers who were separated from their spouses considered the protection of the environment as a personal concern. However, I'm not going to explain why. They favored returning refillable containers because they had already established patronage or a soaking relationship with certain sari-sari stores. Moreover, they considered modern, convenient way of life important and supported sari-sari store owners by buying from them. On the other hand, widowed customers considered buying from a sari-sari store more convenient, while married customers did not trust branded products and agreed that health is the most important thing in life. So most customers with elementary education and were housewives agreed about bringing back refillable containers. Among the four communities surveyed, the lower income customers in Quezon City agreed most that modern life is important, as they also supported the Sari store owners. Also, they considered most of the protection of the environment to be a personal concern. They reportedly brought back refillable containers to the Sari stores. Meanwhile, more customers in the core barangays of Dumaguete trusted branded products. They also considered health to be the most important thing in life. Unfortunately, because of time, I could not explain the reasons behind those attitudes, which are more or less very complex to determine the pattern. Nonetheless, I, 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 I look into the influence of information on the attitudes of customers and have this kind of diagram. Access to and awareness of the right information about zero waste practices in Sari-Sari stores are related to customers' attitude towards such practices that may lead to adopting such practices. The major findings reveal that customers who had heard about zero waste management measures adopted by certain sari-sari stores favored it, particularly banning single-use plastic bags and bringing their own reusable containers and bags. Moreover, more customers who were aware of the traditional practice of buying from sari-sari stores in small quantities favored using their own containers or bags and having an alternative to sachet packaging. So what does this mean in terms of the implications in promoting proper zero waste management in sari-sari stores? The data show the tendency for urban situated and economically well-off sari-sari store owners to favor zero waste practices, and they support ordinances or policies reinforcing these practices. They also included store owners who received training on establishing and operating environmentally responsive sari-sari stores. Thus, more intervention efforts should focus on raising the awareness of sari-sari store owners in poor and peripherally situated barangays about the urgency and massive negative effects of improper waste disposal. They must be trained to practice zero waste management that will benefit their businesses and the community because everyone contributes to global plastic pollution problem. Promoting responsible behavior in waste management requires an integrative approach where one behavioral change is connected to another. The intervention design must not be a standalone approach to a single problem of particular plastic material, but this issue requires how one solution will be able to address several other related plastic problems such as use in selling food items. Also, food safety measures must be emphasized in providing alternatives to plastic containers. Thus, while efforts are focused on raising sari-sari store owners' awareness of environmental protection and promotion of proper waste reduction and disposal, this should also be there should also be a community-wide effort with older persons as models, modeling and testimonials from older sari-sari store owners about the benefits of traditional selling and buying with refillable materials may be effective. In conclusion, the demographics of sari-sari owners and customers, such as sex, age, civil status, and location, are significant indicators of understanding their attitudes towards zero waste measures and practices. Training exposure in operating environmentally friendly sari-sari stores and access to information about waste management measures are also related to their favorable attitudes towards waste disposal and reduction. Interestingly, the store owners and customers who express favorable attitudes towards zero waste management measures also demonstrated consistent attitudes towards zero waste practices. So these are the recommendations. Awareness campaigns promoting proper plastic waste disposal and reduction should be demographically specific to significantly influence the attitudes and practices of customers, various types of needs. While IEC materials are needed, model sari-sari stores must be designed and constructed strategically around the neighborhood, like in poor areas where large households are commonly found. This must be easily accessible to the majority of the customers, especially the elderly persons who prefer not to buy small items but in larger quantities from supermarkets. Workplaces must also be considered where to construct model sari-sari stores to become attractive and convenient for customers busy with work and to bring refillable and reusable containers. The presence of model sari-sari stores in zero waste management situated in strategic areas of the neighborhood and workplaces must also be promoted through massive mass and social media information campaigns to show how these are beneficial to the environment and health of consumers. Meanwhile, local government units through barangays must institute ways for residents to patronize these kinds of sari-sari stores as part of their plastic waste reduction measures, just the old times when sari-sari stores are the most convenient source of household needs. Thank you very much for listening.